Okay, so since we have some time left for the video, let me show you how to find the stock price from Yahoo Finance. And also, I will show you how to calculate the cost of equity, or at least how to calculate the beta using the stock returns, which we can get from Yahoo Finance. Okay, so let's say we want to find Dropbox beta. Okay, so here, first thing we do, we find Dropbox historical prices. Right, so we search for Dropbox, and then we want to go to this panel. Right, we go to this panel, and which shows us the daily stock returns, right, historical prices at daily frequency from the past year, right, from the past year. And so let's use this data, right? Let's use this data directly. Let's estimate our beta from the past year's stock return, daily stock returns. Okay, so one thing you can do is to directly download it from here. And what I'm doing here is to copy and paste it. Okay, so I'm highlighting every number over here without highlighting all the commercials. I use Control C, and I right click, and I choose to match destination formatting, right, so that it does not give me all the mess from the website. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is to drop all these prices and the volume, okay, because I'm not going to use that to calculate stock returns. Okay, I delete all those. And one thing you want to make sure is that you want to figure out whether there's some special events in the middle of it, right? Sometimes companies would want to do stock splits. Sometimes they pay dividends. So I don't think that there's anything for Dropbox like this during this year. Okay, so what I'm going to do here, next thing I want to make sure that the stock returns goes in the same direction as I expected. Okay, so here, basically the first row shows the most recent stock price. Okay, shows the most recent stock price. So in order to calculate the returns, you need the previous day's close price, adjusted close price, right? Which should be set to equal to the adjusted close price for January 21st, right? In order to calculate the return, the daily return for January 22nd, right? So this is the close price on January 22nd. This is the close price on January 21st, right? So I'm copying this price over here, and then I am going to calculate the daily return of January 21st as this number, right? Close price of January 22nd divided by close price of January 21st and minus 1. Okay, and minus 1. So this will give me the returns. Let's call this previous close, and let's call this returns. Okay, so if we have that, then basically we can, highlight this too and drag it all the way to the bottom. Okay, so one thing you want to notice here is that because we do not have a price over here, this one will be automatically filled as 0. Okay, so and this number is basically this number divided by this number subtracted by 1, right? So because you cannot divide a 0, this number goes to as error message, right? So I want to delete both of them just to make sure I don't have anything fancy or anything strange in my data. Okay, so this is basically the return that you will get for Dropbox. Okay, and I'm going to switch it to a percentage and maybe increase it to 2 digits for a better look. Okay, so we will do the same thing for the market portfolio. And this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to use another sheet just for market portfolio, and you will see the reason for doing that. So for market portfolio, you can use SPY. I think you can use this one, SPDR, or sometimes they call it SPDR, right? Is SP 500 ETF, right? So this basically is the same with the SP5 index, right? We will want to see the same thing, historical data. And we want to see download the price, right? So make sure it's the same thing, right? Daily from the past 1 year historical prices. And I'm highlighting this again. Control C, Control V, sorry, Control V, but match destination. Okay, drop volume, close, low, high, and open. Delete. Okay. Okay, so there are a couple of things that you need to notice here, right? So first, look, it's an empty row over here. Why? Because on December 18th, 2020, okay, on December 18th, 2020, this SP500 ETF actually pays a dividend over here, right? So there's an empty value over here, right? And there's a duplicate, right? Duplicate date, right? There are two December 18th over here. So you should drop this row, right, along with any other rows that are also empty because of the same reason, right? So drop these rows, right? So if I copy this next to Dropbox, I would drop multiple rows for Dropbox. So this is why I want to do it in a new sheet instead of copying it right next to Dropbox. Right. So now we can do the same thing with Dropbox. We put the value here from yesterday, right? Make sure this day is the previous day of this day, right? So you use this price as the previous close, right? Previous close. This one's return, and should be equal to today's close divided by yesterday's close, subtract 1. Okay, and highlight this to drag it to the bottom. Okay, drag it to the bottom. Okay, feel free to, oh, and also something funny should be happening here too, right? So let's delete this part. Okay, so for this return, you can do the same thing, right? Give it a better look by using a percentage, right? Percentage wise. So I'm going to create another sheet which gives me the Dropbox date and return. And here I'm going to do Control C, and I'm going to here use the right click and copy just a number. Okay, so if you directly use Control V, it will copy the formula over, which will give you an error message. But if you choose to use this one, 1, 2, 3, right? It basically just copy the number over here, and I will do the same thing, right? Let me first mark this return as Dropbox, and also mark the return and choose Control C over here and copy just the number, right? Just the number. So these dates are a bit messed up, right? So let's copy again the dates. Right, okay, so let's change the date, right? So for dates, I think you want to, okay, so if you want to redo it, right, copy the date column first, copy the Dropbox column second, and then copy the third column from SP500, right? So let's call it SP500. Let's see if they are all matched up, right? So we don't have any data for the last day, and it seems like they have all matched up perfectly. Okay, so these are basically the returns of Dropbox and the market returns, right? Market returns. Remember, for using CAPM, we also need a risk-free rate, right? So in this case, let's just assume risk-free rate is 1%, right? It's 1% APR. But if you use APR, you need to divide this 1% by 365. Right? Because this is the risk return you're earning each day, right? So if 1% is the APR, then the effective daily return, right, should be 1% divided by 365, right? So this is the number that you're gonna get, right? And I'm going to copy this all the way to the bottom. Okay, so it is a very small number, very close to 0, right? So here, remember, beta is the relationship, is the sensitivity between market risk premium and stock risk premium, right? So here we will have Dropbox minus RF and also SP500 minus RF as risk premium for each, right? So this will be equal to this number minus RF, this number, right? And this will equal negative 0.35 minus RF, right? This two. And then we can do the same thing, drag them down all the way. Okay, so finally, we've reached the risk premium for Dropbox and the market portfolio, right? So what do we do? What do we do here? We want to calculate beta, right? Remember, what is beta? Beta is the covariance between these two columns divided by the variance of this column. Okay, so let's calculate the covariance of this column first. So first, we know that the covariance, right? Covariance formula is covariance dot. Should we use dot P or dot S? Okay, so as if I have heard you, we should use dot S, right? And you can directly highlight the first array here along with the second array here, I think, directly. Probably not. Let's highlight the first array first. This is the first array, which is Dropbox one. Let's give it a comma. And let's highlight the second array. I think this is the way to do it. It's been a while. Okay, this is the second array. Okay, and we hit enter directly. All right, so this is basically their covariance. Okay, and how do we get the variance? We have another function called var dot. Well, similarly, right? We should use dot s here, right? Var dot s, and it will ask you for an input of a number of numbers, right? A number of values. So you can highlight this row, this column, and then just hit enter, right? So this will give you the variance, right? The variance. So beta will be equal to the covariance divided by the variance, which is, this two over this two, which is 0.81. Okay, 0.81. Okay, so this is basically the beta for Dropbox, relatively to a market portfolio. Okay, 0.81. Okay, seems reasonable. And if we have, so let's put it here, right? So this is the covariance, RIRM. Let's put an extra RM minus RF. RM minus RF. Right. So actually, subtracting RF or not will not have an impact on this number or this number. Right? But I want you to know that the correct way is still we want to subtract RF, right? Because we're talking about risk premium. So here we have beta, right? We have beta. So let's assume that we know an E of RM is 5%, right? Then basically E of RI will be according to the CAPM formula, right? Will be 1%, right? Which is the risk-free rate, right? So here, let's do another step. Let's assume the risk-free rate is 1.1, right? So here we will have expected risk, expected return for Dropbox will be risk-free rate, which is this one, plus beta, which is this number, times this number minus risk-free rate, right? will be this, right? So if we change this to a percentage, right? So this is the cost of equity for Dropbox, right? Using the past 1 year daily returns, right? Sometimes people will prefer to use weekly returns. Sometimes people would prefer to use monthly returns, or sometimes people would prefer to use returns from a longer sample, right? So it could be different depending on different sample period that you use, right? Because the stock, have different performance in different sample period, right? And they may have different beta from different sample period. Right? But this number shouldn't be that different, or beta shouldn't be that different from using different sample period or different frequency of data. Okay, so yes, this is basically what you need, right, for the case study, right? So after you have cost of equity, then if you know cost of debt, right? If you know R of D, right? R of D, right? Let's say this is 3%. And let's say the equity value is 10, the debt value is 5. Let's say taxes is 40%. Then WACC will be basically weighted average, right? Which is R of E, this one multiplied by E divided by E plus D, E plus D, right? And then plus cost of debt, which is this part, times, well, we want to adjust the tax rate first, right? And we also multiply D, which is 5, divided by D plus E. Over here, right? And we close the bracket and we hit, I think we have another bracket to close over here, right? And we hit enter, right? So this is the overall cost of capital, which is about 3%, right? About 3%, right? So this is basically the WACC, or the discount rate that you should use to get the net present value, right? So I'm sure you'll find similar, right? You'll be able to do a similar thing, right, for the case report. Okay, I think this is helpful, right? A good time to use the rest of the recording time. And hopefully this helps, right? So if you don't know how to do it, feel free to check out this video again. And okay, that's it. Thank you. Bye-bye.